Okay, so here we are. We're going to hop into the schedule. You've already taken a look at the syllabus, hopefully, and we'll get into what our semester is going to look like. So here we are. The first week or a few weeks is really trying to set you up with the right perspective and mind frame and context for the course. So we'll be giving you the tools of understanding qualitative research methods. Your first assignment will be practicing that, and the sooner you pick, and we can chat about this a little bit more in next week or so, but the better idea that you have at a skill that you want to analyze and dissect and use, the sooner you get that idea, the better. Because if you can do your first assignment for sure already started on this one movement skill, it's gonna do you a lot of good and be a very efficient semester for you. So again, we'll start with some qualitative research and explaining what the QMD is, the qualitative movement diagnosis model, and what you'll be doing with that. And then we get into some quantitative measures that you're going to be taking. How do you take those measures and relay them into qualitative? So like just using descriptive words, how to use that in a model, and how do you relate the two? And then you get into the lab. And so the labs, you're going to be kind of coordinating that with your lab facilitator. So this semester is Ryan. And what we have so far lined up for you is we're going to split the class in two. So half the class will be in the lab one day, the other half will be in the next day. And during that week, you might get some supplementary information from me, but it'll be primarily just lab work that week, okay? And to give you an idea of timing, so you can see your first assignment will be provided at the end of next week after we cover that topic. And then you have some time to work on it. And it'll be due online just before midnight on the 26th, okay? So you won't be in class at all that day, and you'll be in lab potentially, if that's your group. But that's a little bit of timing that way. And then on your schedule here, if you notice in the green, that's when you are to submit your lab assignments associated with the labs that you do, again on Blackboard by midnight. Okay, so first part of the semester, we got some labs. Then before reading break, if you kind of notice in the gray weeks here, you'll be in class with myself, and we'll go through each one of the four aspects of your QMD and what they entail. Okay, so what that means is you'll have a great idea of what your project should encompass and should have by the time you get to reading break. Okay. So, also before reading break, we have you have assignment 2 due, and so again, we'll get you more details about that later. But ultimately, what it is it's going to be a summary of some research that you've already done and laid out for your movement. So again, like I'm saying, the sooner here that you figure out what movement you want to analyze and assess and work with this whole semester, the better. Okay. Then you can be productive for that reading break and get going on your QMD. Maybe flush out a little bit more research. And then once you're back from reading break, you have your last lab. So each of these labs are to give you tools that you could potentially use to include in your QMD. And I highly suggest you try to implement them, okay, in some way, shape, or form. So again, the labs are going to be slightly different from what you collect for your QMD, but if you're forward thinking enough, you can actually do all your data collection probably in and around those weeks as well, and just get ahead of the game, okay? We'll get you back in class. We have a couple of very critical classes with myself so that we'll reevaluate two very large components of your QMD and what needs to be there. But by this point in time, you'll already have handed in your the first half, so parts 1 and 2. And after you see what they are all the way up here, it should be pretty easy to have generated for this component here. Then at that point in time, this is where the research part comes, okay? So this is the kind of cool part. This is where, if you haven't done it already, you're going to have a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, to be able to book times with Ryan and or myself to do some data collection, okay? So when you're doing data collection, the whole idea behind this is you conducting a research study. This is you generating science to be able to use to justify your movement model, okay? And again, we'll chat about this quite a bit in class, and you can ask lots of questions regarding that if as we move along. But that's a really important part, okay? Is what are you going to do to collect information to be able to support information in your movement model, okay? So this is a very self-directed period of time. You know, as you're getting towards March is largely up to you to set your own timelines, set your own schedule for data collection, get everything together that you need to be able to hand in the remainder or the second half of your project by the end of the month, okay? So some students have a little trouble with this, but I'm sure if you're, again, plan ahead, think ahead, and start getting as much of the project going throughout the semester as we hit these points, you're going to be fine, okay? But definitely try to, as early as this week right here, March 7th, where I highlighted in yellow here, set up probably 2 lab times at least with Ryan to do some data collection. You can set up a few lab times during open class with myself to do some data collection, or if you just want to set up an appointment on any of these days for some assistance and get questions answered and stuff, please do, okay? It's a really, really critical period there for your project, okay? So that's kind of the fun part for you. You get to pretend you're grad students. You get to pretend you're movement specialists, which by that point in time you kind of are for your particular movement. So enjoy it, relish it, plan your science, execute on the science. And yeah, I'm always really excited and really pleased at the quality of work and the effort that students put in by the end of the project. So once we get to the end of part 4 there, okay? And then last but not least, just to wrap this up, we have our presentation. So during this time, you're going to present what you found with your QMD. Essentially, it's like a short research presentation. You're going to get some feedback from peers. They're going to get to learn what you did. You get to share with and see what they did. It's a really fun point in time in the semester. And once those are done, we're done. No final exam, no exam period work to be done or to study for or whatever. Semester's over for you as far as this class is concerned. Okay? Anyways, again, kind of lots going on. I hopefully highlighted it pretty clearly here for you. You can refer to it anytime you want under course information. And yeah, it's a really fun class, and I'm really excited to dive into some qualitative movement analysis here.